Hey, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to do a special top 10. And my top 10 it's my top 10 favorite Nickelodeon cartoons. Granted, the shows that are on this list are my personal favorites. So if there's any of them ones that you were hoping to be on this list, well, this is based off my opinion. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. Number 10, Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius. See, this show in particularly was one of those, how you say, different cartoon style. And because it had that unique, look to it, it was, more like, I was, open to see the show. With the characters, from Sheen, Carl, Jimmy, Libby, and all those characters. And I have to say, I had a lot of fun with this show when I was a kid. Yeah, it takes similar concepts from Dexter's Lab, but with it by itself, I have to admit, I like seeing the inventions that was part of the inventions that would lead to circumstances that the characters have to deal with, which had some good comedic timing. And honestly, there was just a lot of things I could say about this show, but honestly, I liked it. It was one of those shows that I always hold dear to me when it comes to classic early 2000s shows, and I just liked it for that fact. So honestly, let's get to number 9 on my list is Fairly Odd Parents. Yes, I know this show has been a long-running show, airing possibly to this year or not, but depending on how the show even ends, I still have some genuine opinions on my own thoughts of this show. The basic plot of the series is Timmy basically is miserable at home with having neglectful parents and a bad babysitter. He gets magical fairies that grant his every wish. But honestly, I always have to say the one part about this show that I liked was that seeing the creativism in the artistry and animation of this show, it was kind of fun and silly at the same time, but was unique in its own way. So I had to give this show some props for that. And Butch Hartman, who was a creator of this show, created another show on this list. And honestly, I think you guys thinking what I'm going to say next with number 8. My Life as a Teenage Robot. The thing that I liked about this show in particularly was that it had that superhero elements into it, but it was able to have some care and decency with certain kind of ideas. And for that concept, I have to say this show is really fun watching it. Brad and Jenny and the you know um but besides that fact, my mind's on a block right now because I'm kind of doing this off of memory. So honestly, this show was fun. I liked it. Overall, genuinely a good show. At number 7, Rocko's Modern Life. This show was like a different kind of show because it had some adult themes that all people could, how you say, gravitate towards to, and it had like that very that had a lot of good things about it, and I know it had some like weird like stuff that went on in the show, but minus the fact I have to give this show props. It was funny. We have a lot of great characters from the show, minus Rocco and Stimpy. Honestly, I have to give this show. I really enjoy this show. So if you're looking for like decent like 90s pre 2000s Nickelodeon show, you'll have a lot of fun with it, and I enjoyed it for that show. At number 6, Danny Phantom. Yeah, the other Butch Hartman show that I actually really liked, and not just because it had superhero elements, it was because during the time of the show's airing, I was in middle school, so I felt like I can gravitate towards to most of the situations they had with that. Even though it was set in high school, there was still some elements about that concept of seeing those things done with some care and creativity. So again, honestly, there are elements that I like. Um, it had the superhero element in it, and I liked that show for what it was. It was very fun and action oriented show for guys, and you can flop both my life as a teenage robot for like a female superhero action show that was airing around in Nickelodeon's lineup of cartoon shows. So honestly, I liked that show for what it was. It was a great show. It had some iconic villains from Vlad. I'm the Buckus. Beware. Skulker, Techness, all those all those villains. I think were very funny in seeing how they were used through the series. It was just very funny to see those characters pop up. Very one of those shows that I sometimes go back to ever so often, and very fun show from Tucker, Danny, and Sam. And there's just something about that show I like. And if it's possible to see a live action movie with these characters in it, I would totally go see it. Search it far and wide. So it's just one of those shows that I think there's a lot that I liked about it, and it's not just because there's concepts of the character I like. Besides that, let's get to number 5 on my list, and that's Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold was the show for me from 90s to early 2000s. Had a very hardship when it came to like growing up as a kid, and that was a flip reversal on how Danny Phantom was. That was more like high school age, even though I was in middle school. But Hey Arnold was the show that kind of hit on me when I was a kid growing up versus how when I was pre-age stuff. So honestly, I have to give Hey Arnold a lot of props because it had a lot of great characters and had a really great comedic moments with like from Grandpa, Gerald, all those characters, Sid. There was a few other characters that I'm thinking of, I just can't think of right now, but there was also Nadine, there was the girls, the boys, it just had a lot of great elements that knew how to hit me when it came to airing, because it felt like I was Arnold. He was a standard kid that was able to be likable all at the same time. So that's just that's a lot of reasons why I have these shows on my list, because they were relatable but funny at the same time. So there was a lot of like things when it comes to shows like that for me to like, and it's really hard to see what would be up next. But at number 4 is Doug. I know the nostalgia critic does not like this show because he shared the same name as the lead character on the animated show of Doug, Honestly, besides that, I always laugh when I hear that like being used in a joke on those Channel Awesome like cameo things that he pops up. But Doug was an interesting show from the 90s and then kind of ended, but Disney rebranded it into something else from the early to late 2000s. But, I had to give the show props, As much as it was different for its own version of the show, I like it. It had its own art style and it had its own feel, which was a similar way to how Hey Arnold was done. It's just an average kid you see. He just has his misadventures around his town. Very fun show. I enjoyed it for what it was at the time when I was growing up. At number 3, Rugrats. Yes, this show in particularly was funny, and it was just so like the comedic moments over the head when you realize it when you're older now, rewatching it, from outsourcing it on other media forms. But honestly, there's a lot of things I can say the show was able to do right. Not right, but like able to do something different with this show. And honestly, I give it a lot of props for that. But besides that fact, I love this show. It's very funny to see how these characters are and different reactions and stuff like that. But let's get to number 2. And I was spending a hard time when I was creating this list that where I wanted to place this on my list, or even putting on my list at all. But number 2, SpongeBob. SpongeBob has a lot of variations through the years, from the 90s SpongeBob to early 2000s SpongeBob and all those other different things. Minus those small things that I have to say, this show was just able to be something completely different. But hey, that's what it is. So, what's number 1? We all know what it is. You're probably wondering, wait, where is this on your list? Avatar, The Last Airbender, is the most superior show to SpongeBob. And it's sad to see what happened to Legends of Korra. But honestly, I like both of those shows. They were really fun, action-oriented, like Power Rangers kind of things. Just there's like 3 friends basically venturing around the world, and one of them has the ability to be the powerfulest being in that world. And there's a lot of things I have to give credit for that show did. It just had those fun elements that had like that anime inspired cartoon, and I liked it a lot. And that's why it's my number 1 favorite. I always like going back to it. So honestly, that is my top 10 favorite Nickelodeon cartoons. So I know there wasn't a lot of. I know there was a few shows I was thinking about putting on this list, but when it came to my main 10, these are my main 10 shows that I enjoy a lot of. And possibly if Nickelodeon gets off their ass and tries to do more with their shows, like I know Harry Beaks and The Loud House are 2 decent shows, but it's being crowded around by bullshit. And that's that when it comes to my top 10. So if you like this video, comment, rate, subscribe. Bye.